everybody. Welcome to Stay Inspired with Dadson, Ogbor on Television Nigerian. Today, I'm talking about the mindset of super achievers. And this is a very important topic for us to be discussing today because it's important that we understand what sort of mindset super achievers have as opposed to the mindset that underachievers have. So these are some of the things that we'll be talking about today. I want to start with a quote by Vince Lombardi. He says, and I quote, that leaders aren't born. They are made. They are made just like anything else through hard work. And that is the price we'll all have to pay to achieve that goal or any other goal. Leaders are not born. Leaders are made through hard work, through determination, through resilience. That's what makes leaders or what makes the highly successful or super achievers who they are. A lot of people have done incredible things, and if they tell you some of the things that they had to go through in spite of everything, some had health challenges, some had to lose their homes, some were bankrupt, but they persevered and they were able to achieve the desires of their hearts. They never ever gave up until they became extremely successful. Now, they are not remembered for their failures, but they are remembered for their successes. So if you're watching this and you're saying to me that I have goals, I have desires, there are things that I want to do with my life, then this is definitely for you. I want to be able to create that inspiration to inspire you enough to begin to do something about that particular idea that you have. All right, let's go on. Alexander Graham Bell said, what this power is, I cannot say. All I know is that it exists and becomes available only when a man or woman in that state of mind in which he knows exactly what he wants or what he or she wants and is fully determined not to quit until he finds it. That's how champions are made. Champions are people who have determined in their heart that they know what they want, they know what the price is to get what they want, and they will be willing, or they're willing, they're willing to do whatever is necessary to ensure that they become everything that they desire to become. Let's look at some of the differences between super achievers and underachievers. What are the differences between super achievers? I'm saying that the difference between the highly successful and those who are not really successful boils down to the mindset that they have. I'm reminded of a particular phrase in the Bible that says that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. In other words, we are not different from the way that we think. You find out that people who generally think of themselves as failures engage in things, because when you think a thing, it conditions your mind, and the conditioning of your mind begins to dictate the kinds of habits that you have. Do you catch that? So I'm saying that when you have a particular mentality, that mentality that you have determines the kinds of habits that you have. So you find someone who in their mind, they've already considered themselves as failures, so they begin to act out what they think. In order to change my mindset, in order to change my results, I have to change my mindset. So what is the difference between super achievers and underachievers? I'm saying that it's a function of perspective. What is the difference between super achievers and underachievers? The first difference that we want to look at today is that the fact that when super achievers are faced with challenges or difficulties, they see it as an opportunity to improve themselves. They see it as an opportunity to do what is necessary to be done. They will not shy away from it. They will face it and deal with it. While the underachievers, when faced with challenges, they make excuses as to why it cannot be done. I'm reminded of something someone said to me many years ago. They said that excuses are tools of the incompetent, they are monuments of nothingness, and those who use them are not wise. If you are giving yourself excuses as to why you cannot do those things that you know within your heart, you know that you are capable. Have you ever met someone who's extremely gifted at what he does, but for some reason he does not push himself, he's not motivated to wake up and do something, and then you're talking to this person and saying, why don't you just do something about your gift, do something about your talent, do something about what you're capable of doing? At this time, I'd like us to go on a break, and when we come back, we will continue. Don't go away. Welcome back, everybody. I was making the illustration of like people who are gifted and talented, who do not push themselves, who are not inspired to do anything about what they have the ability to do. All right. So super achievers also, the difference, we've been talking about the difference as well, that they are able and willing to take responsibility for their actions. So if I did something and I failed, I take responsibility for that particular action, because that's what winners, one of the characteristics of winners, of super achievers. They take responsibility. Now, underachievers are blame shifters. They would rather say, oh, if my father were alive, if my father had given me money, if my mother gave me money, maybe my life would be a lot better. If you are making excuses as to why you are not who you should be, just give you this information for free. Nobody owes you anything in this life. Understand it, that nobody owes you anything in this life. You've got to be willing to work on yourself, to do whatever is necessary to ensure that you become, or you begin to live a life that you truly can be proud of. My next difference is, we're talking about the difference between super achievers and underachievers. Now, the super achiever has confidence. They have courage. They are never afraid of failure. The super achiever has confidence, they have courage, they're not afraid of failing. So failure is an event. The fact that I fail does not make me a failure. I've just discovered a way how it would not work. So if I'm a super achiever, if I have that sort of mentality, I want to keep trying, I want to keep doing what I know I need to do. So if I try a particular strategy, it does not mean that my idea is a bad one. It may be that my strategy is not a good one. So, but the underachiever basically succumbs to the fear of failure. So you talk to someone who has an underachiever's mentality, and you talk to them, you engage them in a discussion, and they tell you, what if I fail? What if I start the business and it does not work? That's the function. That's how they think. That's how they reason. What if I take the step and things don't work out well? What if I do it and it does not work? But the question I'm asking you today is, what if you start the business and it goes well? What if you apply for that job and you get it? What if it goes well? Have you thought about the fact that possibilities are endless? You need to begin to develop yourself in that particular area and change your mindset and change the way you look at yourself, change the way you think of yourself. All right, let's move on. Now, for super achievers, they know how to bounce back after personal defeat. Super achievers know how to bounce back. They're resilient enough. The word resilience basically means the ability to spring back quickly into shape. They know how to bounce back after failure. They understand that failure is an event. They will bounce back time and time and time and again. You'll find successful people who have lost all their monies at one point in their lives, but they did not give up. They will bounce back. But we will see for the underachiever, the fact that they make reference to the failures of yesterday, and they use that as a parameter. They use that as a reason why they should not try. Are you gaining something from what we're talking about? My whole assignment today is to help you begin to inspire you, to help you begin to develop yourself in such a way that you will become an action-oriented person, a person who is fired up enough to do something about what they imagine possible. Let's take a quick break and we'll be back after this. Welcome back, everybody. You're watching Stay Inspired with Dadson, Ogbor, and we're basically talking about mindsets of super achievers, the mindset of super achievers, and we're explaining some differences between how super achievers think as opposed to how underachievers think. The next point is super achievers are passionate about their goals. They are passionate about the things that they believe. It is that passion that drives them. It is that passion that wakes them. When they wake up in the morning, they wake up and they hit the road. They're excited. They're super excited about doing something with their lives, as opposed to the underachievers. They're not necessarily passionate about anything. When you ask them, where do you want to be in the next 5 years? Well, anything, you don't have, there's no drive, there's no passion. They're basically complacent about life, about the things that they want. A lot of people I speak to some youths, and this is particularly addressed to young people. You see someone who's 20 years old and he says to you, well, I have time, and what the funny thing is, before you know it, you're actually 30, and before you know it, you're 40 years old, and before you know it, you're 50 years old. And the strength that you had when you were a young person, you do not have that strength to do some of the things that you ought to be doing. So if you're a young person watching me and you're saying, well, I have dreams, I have things that I want to do, this is the time to start. There's no other time, there's no better time to start working on your goals, on your dreams than now. Okay, so my next point is they know how to accept and learn from constructive criticism. Super achievers, when criticized, they will learn. They understand that in order for me to get better, I need to develop myself. But the underachiever gets bitter when you tell them, why don't you try another strategy? They get bitter because I think it was David Meltzer who said this, that embarrassment is an ego-based emotion. Embarrassment is an ego-based emotion. So when you understand that, would you place emphasis, will you give high priority to your ego, or you will focus on what you need to learn in order for you to become all that you should be? Let me close on this note today. We've been talking about mindset. The mind is a powerful force. We can do phenomenal things if we understand the power that is available to us through our minds. Scientists have said that the smartest of us human beings, only utilize about 10% of our mental capability. What this says to me is that we're by far capable of doing more than what we are doing now. So how do I develop my mindset? If you ask that question, then I'm going to give you the answer. Now, the mind is programmable. What that means is that whatever you do repeatedly begins to program your mind. Whatever information you expose yourself repeatedly, all right? The mind is programmed through repetition. When you program yourself, or when you consistently listen to people who tell you how you're not good enough, when you listen to people who always abuse you and put you down and criticize you negatively. Now, there's a difference between constructive criticism and destructive criticism. When you expose yourself to such environments where people ridicule you consistently, after a while, it begins to affect your mind. It begins to affect how you see yourself, because they consistently tell you how they think that you are a failure. But let me say this to you. God never made anybody and put a stamp of failure on you. If you're listening to me, there's more to you than meets the eyes. If they don't see it, that's okay, but you have got to see it. You've got to see that you are special. You've got to see that you are capable of doing by far more than you are doing. It begins in your mind. It begins that you begin to get to that place where you develop your mind, where you're working consistently and on your dreams and your goals, and exposing yourself to information that inspires you, information that makes you who you ought to be. Remember what I said, that the mind is programmed through repetition. All right, take care. And I'm going to also ask you to do something about what you're hearing. It's not enough for you to hear this. That what you know does not change your life. It is what you do with what you know. Share this video with your friends. Leave a question in the comment box as you're watching this video. And also, you can like our Facebook page, and you can follow us on Instagram. Our social media handles are on the screen. You can also connect with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Those information are on your screen. If you have a question for me, or if you're a young entrepreneur and you'd like to be on this show, just send me a message and let's hook up. That's our show for today. See you again next week. Bye-bye.